Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV and Radio, where wisdom meets experience. Join a dynamic lineup of thought leaders, professionals, and changemakers from around the world. Dr. Madeline Chan from the UK, Mariska Dupreya from Australia, Red O'Loughlin from Texas, USA, Carolyn Heward from the UK, Zunette Lub from Cape Town, South Africa, as they share expert insights, personal journeys, and impactful strategies for success. Talking Heads isn't just a show, it's a global stage for education, collaboration, and inspiration. So elevate your knowledge, expand your perspective, engage in conversations that matter. Streaming globally, empowering locally, this is Talking Heads, only on USA Global TV and Radio.
Howdy y'all, Red O'Loughlin here. My final show today, third one in a row on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, and it's called Talking Heads. It's a chance where I have a chance to act, I guess, in a professorial style of being able to present something to my audience. Most of the time it's on health and wellness. Occasionally it's on something else. But I'm going to continue that health and wellness line because last year I came down with a really severe case of shingles, and I got to experience neuropathy firsthand for a number of months. And I figured at some point in time I'd either do a presentation on it or write a book about it, or maybe both. So we're doing the presentation today. So let me load up the slideshow here and we'll get started. Okay, Neuropathy Unlocked. That's the basic talk we're talking about today. What is it? What can we do? And I'm looking primarily at natural pathways for relief and healing. We're live streaming on a number of shows, quite a few actually. Amazon Fire, Zizzle TV, E360 TV, YouTube, a couple different channels on YouTube, Android and Apple TV, social media, and more. I have a simulcast going on 2 of my Facebook channels right now. All of my presentations are for awareness and education. If you want to make a change in your life and it sounds simple, don't do it without consulting a professional, a pharmacist, your doctor, but talk to somebody before just, oh, this sounds pretty easy, let me just do it. No, that's not the way you're going to maintain good health and everything. My website is redolaughlin.com. It's red like the color, R-E-D, O'Loughlin, O-L-A-U-G-H-L-I-N, redolaughlin.com. My books can be found there, all my contact information. I got about 1,500 blogs. I got, I know, hundreds of videos. A lot of stuff is there on that website. The easiest place to find USA Global TV and Radio is on YouTube. My wife is downstairs right now watching it live on TV as I'm up here in the office doing the show. But live streams can be found there. Archives can be found there. And also I have archives on my website. Okay, moving right along here. Okay. I'm a researcher. I've never been in the medical or pharmaceutical fields. I fell in love with chemistry as a sophomore in high school. Got a degree in it, got an invitation to Vietnam, never got a chance to practice much after that. Education was something as critical in what I wanted out of life. I ended up with 5 academic degrees, all in different subjects, 7 professional certifications. I was in the Navy for over 30 years, retired as a captain, naval aviator. I flew for 16 years, been to 62 countries. I think I got my wife to 30 of them or 31 countries. I'm not sure, but around about half of what I have. I study primarily cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. But if you're treating symptoms, that's all you're doing. The cause is still there, you're just hiding it. Sometimes the cause goes away on its own, but not often. Been married 57 years, 2 kids, 3 grandkids, and 1 great grandson, about a little over a year and a half now. Best-selling author, I've done 6 books, independent publisher. I've about 50 books for other authors. Distinguished Toastmaster, writer. I got over 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn, most of them on some aspect of health or wellness. I focus on longevity, age-related diseases. That's my primary concern. And additionally, the information for today's show is for educational purposes only. On the USA Global TV and Radio Network, I'm an international TV host. We literally go all around the world. In fact, the Talking Head show today, if you paid attention on the front end, we have 2 distinguished talking heads from England, one from South Africa and one from Australia, and I'm from the United States. So it's truly a worldwide program. For the first 6 months of this year, I was ranked as number 2 and number 4. And then for 6 months of this year, I was ranked number 1 as the international TV host. My book, The Joy of Ageless Health, goes into what causes disease to develop in the body. There's stress and toxins and radiation and inflammation, infection, diet, even expectations. There's a lot of things there. And I go into that level of detail at the cellular level of the body and discuss what can you do. With neuropathy, we're going to go into that same level of detail today. But neuropathy is something that's kind of unique because it's a different set of circumstances than most everything else we deal with. So what is neuropathy? It's a damage or dysfunction to the nerve ends. Most of the time we never have a problem. Then something happens and it's either numb, I can't feel anything, that's strange, or it's tingly, okay, or it's burning, or it's stabbing. Just a lot of things there that fall in that category of having some kind of nerve dysfunction. Sometimes it's known as peripheral neuropathy because it's in our fingers or our toes, feet. It's at the extremes of our body. But the neural systems travel between our central nervous system, our brain, and our spine to the rest of our body. So if something disrupts that pathway, it's going to create a problem that's going to be recognized by the brain, and the body's going to respond accordingly. In some cases, even our autoimmune system gets involved. We'll talk about that too. There are many, many causes and many, many treatments. And the question is, which one works? And I'll tell you from my personal experience, not many. But did I not try them long enough? I don't know. We'll talk about that. Neuropathy can affect many different sets of nerve systems in the body. We have an autonomic system, a motor system, a sensory system. And depending on which nerve system you're talking about, you can end up with numbness, tingling, burning, weakness, pain, even balance issues. And because of that, it's really I don't want to say disturbing, but it's at that point that most everything that people try to treat don't work, and that's a problem. Oftentimes it can become progressive. Sometimes it's reversible. My shingles from when I had last year, and I'll go to that story here. As far as I'm concerned, completely gone, although I still get maybe once a week a little shingle shot of something, a little stab, a little burn, a little itch. And then I scratch it, boom, it's gone. But there's many diseases also associated where neuropathy is the symptom that's being seen. We think of it a lot in diabetes. You talk about people having peripheral neuropathy in their toes. In some cases, people have their toes amputated or more. Chronic kidney disease, liver disease, that's a primary one. Does a disease cause neuropathy, or is it the other way around? Well, the disease causes, or the situation that is developed into a disease over time, affects the nerves, and the nerves start talking. In other words, it might be a virus that comes into the body. It does its job as whatever viruses do, and the output is nerve damage. So the causes of disease end up inflaming the neural endings. And again, there's many reasons why that nerve ending is susceptible. In diabetes, we call it the chronic excess sugar. In shingles, it's a viral damage to neural endings. And then after the symptoms are gone, the rashes and everything else, where everything looks perfectly normal, you have what's called post-traumatic neuralgia. And that's the symptoms are gone, but the pain and everything that you had is still there. That part didn't go away. It's just the visual representation on the skin is gone, but everything else that you suffered before is still there. So the shingles virus harms the nerve endings for a long time, months, maybe even years, depending. I know a couple of people have had shingles, and they're saying 3, 4, 5 years afterwards, they're still getting the same burning and stabbing pains they had when they had it. Not continuous, but it comes and goes. I'm going to talk about my story down the road. I got it first in June of 2004, and then second time in July of 2004. And then I declare myself over it in the spring of 2025. So it's almost a year I had it. And like I said, I'll go into some detail later on. Chronic kidney disease is another one. You get excessive toxic fluid buildup in the kidneys. It puts pressure on the nerve endings. It's outside their standard operating condition. And boom, you rupture them, you disturb them, you cause a problem. Liver disease, similar. A lot of toxins are cleaned out by the liver, and so you get this toxic shock sometimes, and those toxins affect the nerve endings. Hypothyroidism, autoimmune disease attacking itself. You have lupus, MS, rheumatoid arthritis. So you have some autoimmune diseases because of the nature of the disease. The autoimmune system goes in, and the result is some form of neuropathy. Guillain-Barré syndrome, I think it's also an autoimmune disease. And our autoimmune system attacks the nerve endings because that's where they think the problem's at. HIV, again, another virus attacking the nerve endings. You get Lyme disease, diphtheria. We have some people that are predispositioned genetically, that this is something that could happen much more easily to them than someone else. And there are a few others. It's not a real cut and paste. This is the only thing you're going to get. No, there's a lot of things there. Sometimes alcoholism will bring on some kind of neuropathy, physical trauma, cancers, some medications. So it's not, like I say, it's many causes, many treatments. You try to treat something for excess sugar, and it's really a toxic buildup, that solution isn't going to work. But let's get into the area that I love to talk about, and that's the cellular level in the body, because this is where everything happens. You keep your cells happy, particularly the mitochondria in your cell. You keep that thing functioning well, and there's a lot of things you can do that. But if you are serious about looking for something to do, look up mitochondrial health. What are the things you can do yourself to do it? One of the things I'm doing right now, I am, let's see here, I'm coming up on 90 hours of fasting. No, maybe more, maybe one more. And what fasting does is about 16, 18 hours, it starts a process called autophagy. And autophagy goes into every cell in your body and begins a cleanup mechanism where everything is cleaned, recycled. Imagine being in your home. That's your business. That's everything you do. But you never take the trash out. If your computer crashes on you, you never get it repaired. If everything is working, you leak in pipes, doesn't matter. You never leave the house, never gets cleaned, vacuumed, washed, doesn't matter. After a period of time, it's going to be piled up with stuff. You can have the food delivered to the front door, but you can't leave. So think of that as your cell. And autophagy is one of those ones that goes in, and it starts out gradually, about 1%, about 16, 18 hours of fasting. It gets to 100%, about 72 hours of fasting. But it goes in there and cleans out the cells, all that garbage and trash that's in there, gets rid of the stuff that's not needed, picks up the stuff that can be repaired, recycles it, and gives it back to the cell. So you end up with a new set of cells. You end up literally with a brand new immune system after about 72 hours. So anything that disturbs the metabolic function in the body creates a health issue down the road. Now, if I look at one of my problems being, say, high glucose, because I end up with a lot of sugar in my diet or what I'm doing, or the ways I cook, glycation end products. If I usually refer to that as the black, really good tasting part on barbecue. There are certain things that the way we cook with high temperatures causes what's called AGEs, advanced glycation end products. Those things cause oxidative stress in the body, which causes mitochondrial damage, which causes axon degeneration. That's the transport of material, of nutrients from point A to point B. And so you end up with just a series of things, one after another. So can you shut down the high glucose? Yeah. Can you take care of the glycation end product? Yeah, you can change the way you cook. Can you reduce oxidative stress? Yeah, by certain kinds of antioxidants, fruits and vegetables. You minimize mitochondrial damage and things are much better. But not everything is a metabolic dysfunction, but some of them show that way, and that's a good way to treat. If I look at insulin resistance, that fact that I have insulin that I would normally deliver to a cell in the body, and the cell says, "Oh, don't need it. I don't want it," even though it really does need it. It doesn't recognize a need for it, and so it forces excess blood sugar to stay in the body. It reduces what's called a nerve growth factor, and so if I take away this growth factor, I'm affecting the way the health of the nerves. So I have reduced nerve growth factor. It impairs any kind of repairs to any damaged neurons that I have. So I have a repair system set up for my neurons, but because I have insulin resistance, I'm stopping that from happening. Oxidative stress, inflammation, those are things that I talk about quite a bit in my book that I talked about earlier, The Joy of Ageless Health. 99% of probably all diseases start with chronic low-level cellular inflammation. If you can control the inflammation at the cellular level, the body will generally take care of the DNA mutations and everything else that happens. But if you don't take care of it, part of the problem is going to be that inflammation is now uncontrolled and becomes oxidative stress. So I end up with a lot of oxidative stress. The ROS is reactive oxygen species. It's a kind of oxidative stress. It ends up to lipid peroxidation. In other words, I'm taking my fats and I'm oxidizing them. It goes to the myelin covering on the nerves. It breaks it down, and I end up with problems. I end up with chronic inflammation. And one of the terms that we found out in the last pandemic was a cytokine storm, where all of a sudden the body can't control the level of response to a disease, and all of a sudden the body produces these cytokines. And in this particular case, when I start having chronic long-term inflammation, I start inducing nerve damage through the cytokine body. Sometimes we have very, very tiny vascular cells, vascular tubes, vessels, blood vessels. And because of the nature of the damage, I end up clogging these things up, kind of like mini strokes in a way. But when I start taking away the blood flow from where it needs to go, I have problems. So my small blood vessels supplying nerves are damaged. I end up with what's called ischemia. And essentially over time, I'm not getting the blood that I need, nerve death. If I equate it to a heart, ischemia, heart attack, I end up with a stroke. So the same kind of thing, except this is on the very, very cellular level, not at the brain level. Neurotoxicity. That's where just a lot of things out there in the world are toxic to us. You'd be amazed at the stuff they put in drugs. We've been through a lot of that here lately, where they're trying to take mercury out of a lot of the vaccines. But some drugs have very serious side effects, and some of them can be neurotoxic. Heavy metals, we hear about lead and other ones out there. But fortunately, we can filter a lot of those out ourselves. But when toxins accumulate, now we start having a problem. If the liver can't handle them, then we start having this overflow of toxins, toxic chemicals in the body. Our normal process of communication is through ion channels in the body. It disrupts the communication. It affects the mitochondrial function. And all of a sudden, there's a term that I used more than a couple, 5 or 6 weeks back, when I was talking about one of the hallmarks of aging called cellular compartmentalization. And when I lose the ability of the cell to compartmentalize itself and do its function, what it needs to do, now all of a sudden my mitochondria are out of control. They're not working right. I have a problem. And it's seen as a neuropathy. there's a disrupted axonal transport. In other words, I eat food, gets in my stomach, digests, it gets into my gut, gets into my bloodstream. Boom, I need to get that to various places. Well, as those food particles are broken down more and more and more, we start getting down to the individual atoms that I need to get my calcium atoms to my bones, and my potassium atoms here, and my magnesium atoms here, and whatever. And so this axonal transport gets the nutrients to where they need to go. But when I start losing the cellular compartmentalization, in other words, the function of the cell to do its job, then I disrupt that transport. I end up with a lot of damaged proteins because it's not doing the job it's supposed to do. And so inside that cell, I have these proteins that are misfolded. They're not fully, they're missing pieces, and they just start accumulating on the floor like trash. And that's what autophagy is really for, is you go in there and clean out all that damaged stuff, fix the ones they can, and give them back to you. We have what's called impaired signal transmission. Their nerves are part of that signaling process. And so I end up with a problem of the nerves can't do their job because something upstream caused a problem. Well, there are many options, but unless you know the cause you're treating, it's kind of hard to do something. Obviously, if you break an arm, you get it set, boom, you don't do whatever you were doing before. You get a burn, you don't touch the stove anymore, the burn heals. But with neuropathy, we're not talking the same thing because there are just so many different things that can cause it. And we're not in a one cause world. You may end up having 2 or 3 of these things that kind of lump together, and maybe one by itself wouldn't be as potent, but you get 2 or 3. Now I'm putting extra toxic shock here. I have too much sugar over here. I have mitochondrial dysfunction. I end up with a lot of things that are affecting my body. What can I do about it? Well, the first thing I would recommend is, what are you deficient in? That's the thing that you got to provide the body with the items it needs on a daily basis. Your primary B vitamins, B1, B6, B12, they actually go in there and help the nerve repair and the myelin synthesis. That's the coating on the outside of the nerve. The B12 is an interesting one because it's a cobalamin. And cobalamins, if you just take it as a pill, put it under your tongue, it dissolves into your bloodstream. But if you take it as part of a multivitamin, B vitamin complex, it's worthless because it can't pass through stomach acid. And you end up with what the manufacturers put in there as a B12. It's called cyanocobalamin. And it's, like I say, it can't get through the stomach. So you have to take the methylcobalamin under the tongue, and it gets right straight into the bloodstream. Alpha lipoic acid, acetylcarnitine, they reduce oxidative stress, improves mitochondrial health. So again, we're still down there at the cellular level, providing the nutrients that are needed on a daily basis. Vitamin D3, magnesium, they work together. They're anti-inflammatory. I typically try to keep my vitamin D3 levels up over between 80 and 100 nanograms per milliliter. Even during my shingles, I kept it high, but for whatever reason, it didn't work. Omega-3 fatty acids, needed for membrane repair. I talked about a lot of things on our health, hallmarks of health, hallmarks of aging. Lifestyle is by far affects more things than we even can begin to think about with regard to total body health and wellness. But lifestyle, physical therapy can do wonders in some cases. I talked to a massage therapist yesterday about having a nerve impingement. What can he do as a massage therapist to take pressure off of those nerves? Well, whatever's causing that impingement is still going to be there after the massage. You may feel better for a while, but you got to go back and find out what caused the impingement. And I'll refer to that later on today. I think we have plenty of time to do that. Exercise, again, a lifestyle factor. It improves blood flow, and it actually really is a great help for the mitochondria in our body. Neuromuscular electrical stimulation. It affects the nerve function. I did use that for my shingles. I found some level of repair after about 15 to 30 minutes. I'd have a little tinge in it and put it on right on top of where everything was really hurting. But that was after the rashes and everything had gone. But again, it didn't seem to, because my shingles were so widespread. I had an area the size of my hand on my upper left thigh. I had an area on my back above my waist, again about the size of my hand, an area below my waist on my left upper buttocks about the size of my hand. So I had 3 huge areas that were just erupted in blisters, and then for months afterwards just kept creating all sorts of stimulation that I didn't want. Sometimes because of the numbness in our feet, there's a balance issue. And that can be a severe problem for some of our elderly, that you end up with brittle bone or other issues. Now all of a sudden, boom, you do something wrong, balance, boom, you're fed down on the ground. So physiotherapy might be not a matter to fix or address the neuropathy, but actually be able to reduce the risk of falling and then creating other problems on top of everything else. There's a lot of topicals out there. I would say the more things you can do, add them up. They're all additive. The more things you can do, complementary treatments. So in other words, I want to do the balance training. I want to do the capsaicin cream because it desensitizes the pain fibers. I'm not fixing the neuropathy. I'm fixing a symptom of pain. Acupuncture, it improves the microcirculation and reduces the pain. Still not addressing necessarily the total cause of the neuropathy, but if I can improve the microcirculation of blood around those things, the nerve should get better. Low-level laser therapy, infrared, I use that also. I didn't see any help, but again, at that point in time, I was talking to a pain specialist, and we were talking about doing a nerve block. Not something I wanted to do, but something that I had to give some serious thought to, because things were just really and truly that painful. I don't think I've been in a lot of pain, but it's usually, okay, fine, it's for a couple of days or whatever, but nothing that lasted for months. But light therapies do improve mitochondrial function. So that is something that, again, even without having a disease, it's something to consider. Environmental detoxification, avoid any kind of neurotoxins, your heavy metals, excessive amounts of alcohol, pesticides, a lot of the toxic materials that are in our foods, the flavorings, the aromas, the colorings, all sorts of stuff are out there, and they can become a problem. Diet intervention. Well, if part of the problem is being caused by sugar, maybe having a diet intervention of not as much sugar, carbs, that might be an option to consider. Again, talk to a professional before you just start making changes. Eat more anti-inflammatory foods, your fruits and your vegetables. I do, like I mentioned earlier, I'm on 90 hours of a fast. I do a 72-hour fast, or I try to every month. Sometimes it's 100 hours, sometimes 150, occasionally 200, but I do a prolonged fast often. And there's just so many benefits for it. That's almost a whole lecture in itself. Intermittent fasting can be a wonderful thing. You don't eat for 4 to 6 hours a day, and then you're fasting the rest of the time. Let's just kind of do a little bit deeper dive into some of the options that when you do a simple, what can I do for neuropathy? Well, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, they don't tell you about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's just a lot of things there. I talked about nerve impingement. I have some Agent Orange issues that ended up as blocking certain arteries in my body and in my knees in particular. I was at my cardiovascular surgeon's office. They do a scan. What's the scan called? Ultrasound. And they're getting down there, and I'm talking to this guy, and he says, okay, I had this thing happen just the other day. And I said, I'm just standing there in the kitchen prepping food, and I'm there for a while, and all of a sudden, boom, I just have this super huge burning and stabbing in my right thigh. And he says, well, it's probably the L4, L5. You impinged it because of whatever. So, okay, fine. I have an impingement. What can I do? Well, I can correct the problem that's causing the impingement, which I know what it is for me. I have too much gut fat hanging out on the front, not enough strength in the back. So I have a misalignment of body composition. So if I lose fat in my belly, I build up my muscles in my gut. I can continue to build up the muscles in my back. I can get everything back into alignment, and that impingement goes away. But I could also do acupuncture. I could do massage. I could do emotional freedom techniques. That's where you do the tapping and with a certain kind of mantra. People with chronic back pain for years, even decades, have used EFT and had great results. Put EFT into YouTube, EFT and pain, and you'll find some great videos on that. I like a guy called Brad Yates. I really like the way he does his EFT videos. But again, there's not one answer. There are many complementary options. So as I'm doing something, I may be triggering endorphins to slow down the pain response. I may be stimulating nerve endings for some growth and healing. But whatever I'm doing, I want to make sure it's safe. Me personally, I want to stay away from drugs as much as I can. But there's multiple interactions of support that can be used at the same time. And if you're starting to go the nutritional and other ways, again, talk to professionals on that, because you don't know how other things that are going on in your life may be interacted. I used lidocaine patches, and they worked actually fairly well. Not right away, but within an hour, and they actually controlled the intensity of the pain a lot. So I like those a lot. They block what's called the sodium channels in the nerves. It wasn't fixing the cause of the problem, but it was a symptom of the pain that could be addressed. So in that particular case, I was addressing symptoms. So it prevents pain transgression. Cooking options, you can avoid high temperature cooking and avoid what's called AGEs, the glycation end products. Reduce your omega-6 fatty acid consumption. These are your canola oil and vegetable oil and corn oil. Anything that's a vegetable oil is high in omega-6s. We don't make them. It's an essential fatty acid. We need it, but we don't need as much as in the standard American diet. Because when you start getting over a 4-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids in your diet, it causes that inflammatory effect in the body. And so your chronic low-level cellular inflammation is a key issue for future disease. Green tea, epigallocatechin gallate, is one of several catechins in green tea. They've noticed in animal studies where they looked at the, say, beta amyloid plaque. It just sits right on top of the neuron like a glove. In the process of using EGCG, it changes the molecular structure of the beta amyloid protein, so it falls off the head of the neuron. So in some cases, they've noticed that where it appears to be a dead neuron comes back to life. So there's a lot of benefits from EGCG all throughout the body. But with regard specifically to neuropathy, I think it's a good deal just because of the neuronal health that it gives you. Mushrooms, primarily lion's head, but reishi and cordyceps, got to be real careful there because of dosages and other things. But talk to somebody before you just go out and buy a bunch of them. I bought about 10 or 12 different kinds of mushrooms when I was going through my shingles, and I honestly did not feel any relief. But the mushrooms stimulate nerve growth. It suppresses the cytokines we talked about earlier, and reduces neural inflammation and is neuroprotective. The mushrooms, most people, your doctor's not going to understand anything there, but find out who has that knowledge. Give them a call, send them an email, whatever. But see what you can find out. Let's say you're 6 foot, 210 pounds. You had these symptoms. How much should I take? A gram a day, 2 grams a day, half a gram. I don't know of what kind. But the dosage, the type of mushroom, the interaction with any other drugs you're taking, you don't want to be willy-nilly and just, okay, let me try that. I tried CBD oil. It reduces inflammation and suppresses pain signals. I had the two different kinds. I had a kind I put under my tongue. I had another kind I put on my skin as a cream. The cream actually did some level of support. It's an expensive option, but the CBD oil under my tongue, I didn't feel anything. But it inhibits the release of the excitation of these neurons. And so it's there, it does a certain thing. But if the pain level is so high, how much do you take to get to the pain level? I think that was never really answered in my case. But the CBD oil specifically targets certain pain receptors. I list two of them there, 5-HT1A and TRVP1. And so those are pain receptors that CBD oil goes down and calms down or restricts the reception of those pain receptors. Many causes similar to aging, lifestyle factors help. Recovery depends on what the cause, the duration, the severity, and others. But if you have a mild neuropathy, generally speaking, 3 or 4 months, 60-80% improvement. Moderate neuropathy, maybe in a year, 40-60% of the people, pain will be gone. Severe may never recover, but it may end up being partial down the road. Here's pictures of my leg in early June on the left, and a couple of weeks later. All the blisters are gone. I can only be contagious when the blisters are there. Once the blisters start disappearing, and then they eventually disappear completely. Then, just a couple of weeks later, I ended up with, this is beginning of July, reinfestation of the blistering. Again, a couple of weeks later, everything's just about gone, and a couple of weeks after that, everything was gone. But I tried literally everything. I did oxycodone and some other codone things out there. I did gabapentin, and it's strange because I'm sitting there eating gabapentins like M&Ms, pregabalin, nothing, absolutely nothing. Now I know other people, they take one gabapentin, they go crazy. They're standard analgesics. I was using lidocaine cream and capsaicin. None of them worked. I tried red light therapy, not that I saw anything. The lidocaine patches, to a degree. CBD oil, not really. Cream, a little bit. Ice did work a little bit. So I'm sitting there and I get a very, very lightly damp dish towel, put it on the area. I put frozen corn, frozen peas, frozen something in there, and I use that, and 30 minutes, that's kind of numbed out. But again, it's just treating the symptoms, which at most cases, I just wanted the symptoms treated. Bourbon, I put this in there because yes, it does work. It's an analgesic. I did find alcohol to be a very major factor in fixing the pain issues at the time. Mental toughness, sometimes I could just will myself, okay, just go away, go away. And I could control things periodically just with just that, okay, I'm just kind of visualizing all that stuff going. Like I said, I tried a dozen different kinds of mushrooms, a lot of vitamins, minerals. I tried fasting, electrical stimulation, lots and lots of things I tried. One of the problems I had was during all this, because of the intensity of the pain, I was unable to go to sleep for at least maybe 2 hours at most. I could get a decent sleep. Brain fog for months. I mean, from June through probably January, I had not severe, but some level of brain fog. I could be functional, but I couldn't remember stuff. Some levels of pain went away with certain things, but not always. Just because it worked today didn't mean it was going to work tomorrow at the same level. I already talked about my results from the CBD cream. I talked about a Neuroblock, lidocaine. All in all, bourbon worked best, or rum, or vodka, whatever you like, rum or wine. But again, you start taking that every day in levels higher than normal. It's not something you want to do. You can end up with an addiction. You don't want that. Let me see if I can pick that back up again. Get back to that same slide. If I can, great. If not, then we'll just end the session here. No, I'm not having any luck. It's toward the end of the show. Oh, okay. I thought I had one more. No, I guess that is the end of it. Okay, it is what it is. Okay, Red O'Loughlin here, and we're checking out today on the Talking Heads program of the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Don't know what my topic's going to be next week, but it's going to be something very interesting. I'm thinking about vagus nerve right at this moment. We'll see what happens. Take care, y'all, and catch you next week. Bye now.
Which of these 5 statements sounds mostly like you? 1. I often wake up in the middle of the night worrying about my future. 2. I'm angry or resentful towards a specific person. 3. I have anxious, obsessive, compulsive thoughts throughout the day. 4. I have an addiction like smoking, drinking, shopping, sugar, or social media. And 5, I feel that I'm wasting away my life. Hello, I'm Dr. Alkistis Agio, and for over 25 years, I've been coaching and training people from all over the world to transform their fears, insecurities, anxiety, and anger into mental and emotional freedom. I'm confident that my simple 3-step method based on Greek philosophy can help you to transform into the joyful, confident, free human being that you deserve to be. I want to invite you to join my weekly online coaching group to finally get the results that you want. Look, you've tried it alone so far and you've had some okay results, but let's face it, you're still feeling stuck right now, spinning your wheels. Einstein said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Now, unless you realize this as a fact, that you are a prisoner of your own mind, you can't move forward. I'm here to support you, as well as the whole community that we are co-creating. Stop feeling stuck. Stop feeling depressed. You don't have to do it alone, and alone isn't working anyway. Sign up today, and I'll meet you on the inside of our amazing weekly group call. I guarantee that you'll make progress from the very first session.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TracyCramPerkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Get ready to wear the brand that's changing the world of media. Introducing the official USA Global TV and Radio online store. From our TV show hosts to our incredible global guests, you asked, we delivered. Rep your appearance with pride. Whether you've been on air, hosted a show, or tuned in, we have something just for you. Visit us at usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com and start shopping today. Check back frequently. We're dropping fresh new designs all the time. showcase your role in our global community. These designs celebrate your voice, your story, your presence. It's more than just merchandise. It's a movement of hope, inspiration, education, and elevated listening. Head to usaglobaltvradiosshop.myspreadshop.com. Your spotlight awaits. USA Global TV and Radio. Elevate your style. Elevate the world.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.